Assalamu alaikum, boys. I hope you're all doing all right. This is, our first lesson in social studies on immigration. So it's Unit 5, and in our textbook, it will be on pages 43 to 60. We'll break this lesson up into two smaller lessons. That way you don't have all the things at once. So hopefully it goes well. All right. If everybody can get out their textbooks turn to page 43. Okay, and we'll begin with immigration. Now, we read some of this in class, so um, a little bit of it is going to be repeat, but I'll just touch on a few of the key points. I still would like you guys to read through the textbook pages, but these are the most important parts of it. Okay, so the learning objectives here are to explain the causes of immigration to Canada. You need to analyze the consequences of immigration. So what was the result of all these people coming to Canada? You have to explain how the views on immigration have changed or whether they've stayed the same. Vocabulary. Okay, so key vocabulary here, and we went over some of it in class. Immigrants. Pull factors. So, for example, jobs, education, and equality. Push factors. Poverty, pollution, overpopulation. We also talked about other ones like war and starvation. What is a refugee? What are the intended consequences of immigration? So, for example, sometimes some countries they have very, very old people and they need the young people to come and work jobs. So they'll bring in a lot of new young immigrants. They have different reasons for immigration. The unintended consequences. So what is the result of that? So, for example, here in Qatar, we have a lot of people who come from India, Bangladesh, the Philippines, and they come here to work. And part of the consequences is that the culture here has changed a little bit. For example, you might use a few words that are actually Indian words, or you might have tried food that is from different countries where the immigrants have come from. Okay, so these are some of the unintended consequences. All right, here we go. So what are the causes of immigration? So there's a lot of different causes. We talked about, your favorite immigrant, Mr. Aqib, and one of the reasons that I came was pull factors, okay? There are a lot of different causes for immigration, okay? It could be seeking a job, seeking a different environment, maybe you have a problem back in your home country. 17 million immigrants came to Canada since the 1860s. People immigrate due to pull and push factors. Okay, so we all know that, right? Like there's reasons that you'll come to a country, maybe good reasons to go to a better country, or reasons to get away from your country because maybe they've gone into war. What are some of the reasons why there are so many expatriates here in Qatar? So think about it. You know a lot of expats, like Mr. Aqib, and like maybe your driver or maybe somebody who works for your dad. Maybe you can ask them why they have come here. Okay. Now, in the early 1900s, so between 1815 and 1850, so before the 1900s, about 800,000 immigrants came to Canada. And that changed the population of Canada, because they had children too, from 600,000 to 2.4 million. Okay, so that's a big population growth over that time. Push or pull factors. Okay, so the question here is, what were the push and pull factors that brought them to Canada? And there's some history there as well. Okay, it talks about them coming from Britain and Ireland, and the answers can be found on page 44. And you need to know a little bit about the potato famine. Okay, the potato famine. So in the early 1900s, most of the people came from Britain and Ireland. There was a mass starvation in Ireland, which was called the potato famine. And there was a lot of disease that spread across the potato crops that they had in Ireland. And so there wasn't a lot of food. So a lot of people came from Ireland to Canada and to the United States at that time. Many people in Britain did not have jobs or own land. So because they didn't have much, they left. Usually when you own a lot of things in a country, you're not likely to leave that country. When you don't have a lot of things, you're more likely to leave and start fresh in a new land. Okay, so starting fresh in a new land, that's a pull factor, and the potato famine, that is a push factor. So in the 1890s, the government of Canada wanted to tighten the control they had over the Western lands by resettling the land with European farmers. So what they did actually, boys, is they took people from different European countries and they gave them land. They said, it's your land and you guys can take care of the land as long as you're farming. Okay? Um, and there's actually a poster on page 44 that you can look at. And I'd like you to scan it to read the details on what they were trying to give to people. Thousands of people came from the Ukraine between 1891 and 1914. Mostly they were men without their families. But what do you think happened eventually? That's right, they eventually would have gotten their families to come over, or they would have married people from Canada and made new families. But if you look at that poster, Western Canada, the new El Dorado. Now, El Dorado, boys, was a city in the New World, and we studied a little bit about Mexico. It was a city in Mexico, and they believed it was the city full of gold. So they're saying that Western Canada is the new El Dorado. If you guys want to respond, just send me an email or a comment here about why you think Western Canada was called the new El Dorado. And there's some hints in the poster. Okay? Okay, so then in the 1900s, in 1976, the Immigration Act made it easier for immigrants to bring their family members to Canada. So people from different countries were able to come, not alone, not just for work, but to live. This act encouraged immigrants who could help the economy grow, which means people who would do businesses, or they were doctors, or they had some other skills, and they were able to, kind of bring new things to the economy and help the Canadian economy grow. Immigration increased with many people coming from the developed countries. Okay. In 1975, after the Vietnam War, Canada accepted 70,000 Vietnamese refugees. So there was a big war in Vietnam, and the refugees from there, because their country had just been, through a war, they were allowed to come and settle in Canada. So that was a big part of it. Okay, so our job today will be to read the quotes on page 46, and you need to answer the following questions. What are reasons why 300,000 immigrants choose Canada as their permanent home today? Why do students migrate to Canada? And which country sends the most students to Canada? Okay, so we're going to stop there, and the next lesson will be on Sunday, I believe.